Hey y'all, it's Tim Baldwin here with Global Claim Advisors, and we're in Pensacola, Florida, here on the water with Mark Downey. Mark, you probably don't need an introduction for a lot of people, but why don't you just tell the folks here a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm again Mark Downey. I'm a real estate broker. I've been in the Pensacola area all my life, and I've practiced real estate for the past 24 years now. Specifically doing property management for about the past 20, and also own a couple businesses in town, so got my hands in a little bit of everything, but real estate's definitely been my bread and butter.
Yeah, that's how you and I met years ago. Was in real estate, so I know you've been doing it a long time.
Yes, sir.
So from your expertise, and you see a storm like this, what do you see as a typical response from property owners?
Well, from property owners or property managers?
Well, from the property owners, do they if they get nervous about a storm out there, do they call you or they communicate with you, and what do they say?
Yeah, well, we manage about 400 properties, so we definitely have a variety of owners, and different people have different needs and concerns. But I'd say, in times like this, we definitely get a lot of calls about just in general what's going to happen to the property in the case of an actual storm, what steps are taken to take care of the property and to ensure that the risk is mitigated as much as possible. And I think probably one of the most common questions are you going to board the house up? Are we going to board the windows? Yeah. And that seems to be a big concern with a lot of people. But obviously, what happens after the storm? How do we find out about the damage, and what if there is extensive damage? That's always going to be a concern. Yeah.
So when a storm comes, it actually hits the coast and we're affected. What is your usual protocol? Like, how would you respond as a property manager?
Well, something that we try to do is prepare for this moment. So we have a plan in place. But as far as the owners are concerned and their needs, we have services that we obviously can provide to the owner to prepare the home. But one of the good things about a lot of the homes, especially the more current homes, is having the impact-resistant windows, and so that kind of minimizes the need for boarding up windows and whatnot. But the fact is that you have trees, and a lot of trees, and trees tend to be the biggest issue that it's a concern. Yeah. But obviously, there's not much you can do other than cut your trees down before storms. Yeah. But at a point where we're at right now, which obviously 2 storms bearing down on Pensacola, there's not a whole lot of time left for things like that. So,
well, even with, I would venture to say that, you would encourage your property owners to be insured, right? So, like, if there's property damage, hey, you're covered.
Well, that's a great point, and honestly, that is probably the biggest thing you can prepare for right now, is in way of actually your insurance policy. Checking your policy, making sure you are in fact covered. Yeah. Because it's amazing to me how many people actually don't have coverage, and they think they do. Yeah. Especially if they don't have an escrowed account for their with their mortgage company for insurance, or if they don't have the adequate flood insurance that's necessary. Yeah. So it's definitely probably the single most thing they should be looking at right now.
How would you advise a property owner, say whether they rent it out or whether they occupy it, say, hey, check your policy out. Make sure you know what your coverage is. Make sure it's adequate for the value of your home. Get with an agent that you can trust, right?
Absolutely. In fact, you want to make sure you're, if anything, overinsured. You don't want to be underinsured. And that is also another thing that we commonly see when we look at policies is people tend to be underinsured. They took the policy out 10 years ago. The house was worth $100,000. Now it's worth $250,000. Yeah. So you want to make sure you're insured adequately. You also want to make sure that you have income loss on your insurance policy. Most hazard insurance policies don't have that. So if you're an owner and you don't live in the home, you want to make sure that you do have that income loss.
Yeah, we call it business income loss, where if it's a rental business, and then a storm comes or whatever the covered peril may be, flood, wind, fire, and it causes the property not to bring in income, that you need a policy to cover that loss of income.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. It's very important. Yeah. And a lot of times people don't either know how to purchase that type of policy, that maybe the carrier that they used didn't write it into the policy. They thought they did.
Yeah.
And you need to check that and make sure that it is in fact in the policy. And then the final piece of that is if there is a hurricane and there is loss, the home is uninhabitable, how to read that policy, how to know what coverage you're supposed to get or how much you're supposed to receive. Most people don't know the answer to that, even by looking at the policy.
Well, we know that policies are written by attorneys, right? And they're written by attorneys for the insurance company, and so they're made to be interpreted more than they are understood.
That's right.
You know, and so let's talk about that a little bit. So, as a property manager, first of all, would you even want to get in a situation where you're having to understand an insurance policy and try to negotiate some kind of a settlement with an insurance adjuster if there's property damage to the house?
Yeah, you know, it amazes me when I hear stories about owners specifically, but also property managers who are attempting to do just that. You know, after a loss, whether it's a fire or a major storm, you know, it could just be a random storm we get. We get some pretty bad storms other than hurricanes all the time. And people do experience losses. And it's amazing to me that an owner would try to actually take that on themselves. They're not educated in that area. They don't understand what the policy says. The agent usually doesn't know. They're going to just tell them whatever they think, which isn't necessarily what the truth is. Yeah. And then you have property managers who are trying to do this on behalf of the owner, which is amazing to me. I mean, property managers aren't tax advisors. They're not attorneys. And they're certainly not insurance agents. Yeah. So why in the world would a property manager, as well-meaning as they may intend to be, try to take that on? Right.
Well, and the liability that could possibly be attached to negotiating something that, one, you shouldn't be doing because you're not licensed, but two, if the policy would have provided coverage for, let's just say, $500,000, but you negotiated a settlement of $300,000, and then the owner finds out, he's looking to you for the balance of that.
That's always the case, and you know, I've consulted with a lot of property managers over the years, and that's one of the first things I tell them is to be very careful, because anything that happens, if you gave the advice, you're going to be held accountable for that. And certainly in the area of, like you mentioned with insurance, my goodness, the last thing you want to do is negotiate something which you shouldn't be doing in the first place. It's against the law. But do that and then later on find out that you've accepted a bid that's too low. Yeah. Accepted money that's too low to cover the cost. And you're going to be sued.
Yeah, I can understand why a property manager would feel like they would want to do that. Maybe the owner it lives out of the area and they don't have the resources here, or maybe they just think that, hey, they know enough about property that they can negotiate something. But in truth, they don't. They're not licensed to do it. They don't have the expertise as far as property damage. I mean, you want to bring in experts who know how to evaluate damages and in terms of what the policy provides for. So
absolutely. I mean, that's something that we could talk on for a long time is the inability to even understand what the estimate should be or could be, or what other variables are even unknown when you're talking about negotiating an actual settlement from an insurance policy. I mean, what are the mitigating circumstances that could cause the damages to be much higher than what is initially expected?
Yeah, and a lot of times these cases require even like engineers to even determine causation. Was it water damage or was it wind damage, right? Or was it a combination of both? And how do you decipher the percentage or the portion of that?
And let's face it, what property manager or even homeowner really knows how to do that, or knows who to call?
Yeah. So whenever you're dealing with a scenario where the owner really needs to get paid, like they don't have cash reserved to fix the house themselves, to pay a contractor, and they're just waiting on the insurance money, and the process is taking so long. I mean, what would you say would be a way for the owner to try and sort of expedite the process of getting paid from the insurance company, and sort of the best way to doing that?
Well, I'm not sure where you're leading me there, but obviously I would think that it'd pay to have an advocate, somebody that can handle that for you, because there is no easy solution for that. As a homeowner or a property manager, someone who has dealt with this hundreds of times, there's no easy answer. In the past, that's what we've tried to do, is kind of handle it on our own. Yeah. But fortunately, there's availability for us in these times for someone to be our advocate in those scenarios.
Right. Hope you all stay safe. And if you need a public adjusting firm to handle these insurance claims, you can contact Global Claim Advisors. You can visit our website at hiregca.com. If you need a property manager in the Pensacola area, you can contact Mark Downey at his office. I'm sure he would love to help you out as well. You guys stay safe.
Stay safe.